You already know about drugs. You already know about weapons. But the black market is so much stranger, so much darker, and so much more bizarre than most people ever realize. We're talking about things that will make you question what human beings are actually capable of buying and selling when no one is watching. Nuclear material smuggled in a backpack. Dinosaur bones sold to the highest bidder. Sand. Actual sand. Stolen from beaches by the truckload. Today we're counting down the craziest, most unbelievable things ever sold on the black market, and some of these will genuinely disturb you. 1. Radioactive and nuclear material. Let's start with the one that should terrify everyone. Since the collapse of the Soviet Union in 1991, the IAEA, the International Atomic Energy Agency, has recorded over 4,000 incidents of nuclear and radioactive material going missing or being illegally traded. 4,000. Some of it is low-grade industrial material. But some of it is the real thing. Highly enriched uranium. Cesium. Polonium-210, the same substance used to assassinate Russian spy Alexander Litvinenko in London in 2006. In 2011, a group in Moldova was caught trying to sell weapons-grade uranium to buyers they believed were connected to extremist organizations. The price they were asking? $4 million per kilogram. The buyers in that case were undercover agents. But not every sting operation succeeds. The black market for nuclear material is real, it is active, and the consequences of a successful transaction are almost too horrifying to imagine. 2. Dinosaur fossils and prehistoric bones. This one sounds almost whimsical until you understand the scale of it. Fossil trafficking is a multi-million-dollar black market that operates almost entirely in plain sight. Through auction houses of private dealers, and wealthy collectors who either don't ask where the bones came from or simply don't care. In 2012, a Tyrannosaurus bataar skeleton, a close relative of the T-Rex, was auctioned in New York for over $1 million. The problem? It had been illegally excavated from Mongolia, a country where all fossils are protected national property. The importer was eventually convicted and sentenced to 3 months in prison. But he was the exception. Most fossil traffickers never face any consequences at all. Mongolia, China, and several South American nations have had their prehistoric heritage systematically looted for decades, with the bones ending up in the private collections of wealthy individuals in the United States, Europe, and the Gulf. 3. Sand. Yes. Sand. If there is one commodity on this list that will genuinely surprise you, it is this one. Sand is the second most consumed natural resource on the planet after water. It is the foundational ingredient of concrete, glass, and computer chips. And we are running out of the right kind of it. Desert sand is too smooth and rounded for construction purposes. What the world needs is coarse, angular sand from rivers and coastlines, and that sand is disappearing faster than it can be replenished. The result is a thriving black market worth billions of dollars annually. In India, criminal organizations known as sand mafias have taken over entire river systems, dredging them illegally around the clock. Journalists who have investigated them have been murdered. Politicians who tried to regulate them have been threatened. In Indonesia and Morocco, entire beaches have vanished overnight, literally stolen by organized criminal groups and sold to construction companies that ask no questions. The global sand black market is estimated to be worth tens of billions of dollars and is one of the most violent and underreported criminal enterprises in the world. 4. Human breast milk. This one sits somewhere between disturbing and deeply sad. Human breast milk has become a surprisingly valuable commodity, driven by a combination of genuine medical need and a bizarre fitness subculture. On one end, premature babies in neonatal intensive care units desperately need donor breast milk when their mothers cannot produce enough, a real and serious medical situation. Hospitals and regulated milk banks exist to address this. But alongside the legitimate system, an underground market has emerged. Bodybuilders and fitness enthusiasts, overwhelmingly adult men, have become willing buyers, convinced that human breast milk offers some kind of primal nutritional advantage. Online black markets have sprung up where breast milk is sold for anywhere from $1 to $10 per ounce, sometimes more. The problem, beyond the obvious strangeness of it, is that unregulated breast milk carries serious health risks. It can transmit HIV, hepatitis, and other diseases. The FDA has issued warnings. The market continues anyway. Point 5. Ancient artifacts and looted antiquities. The illegal antiquities trade is one of the oldest black markets in human history and one of the most profitable. Estimated to generate between $6 billion and $8 billion per year globally, it sits just behind drugs and weapons as one of the largest criminal economies on the planet. When ISIS swept across Iraq and Syria between 2013 and 2017, one of their primary funding mechanisms was looting archaeological sites. Palmyra, Nimrud, Mosul. Thousands of years of human history were smashed, stolen, and sold to finance terrorism. Ancient coins, carved ivories, cylinder seals, and statues flowed through Turkey into European and American art markets, often laundered through multiple hands until they arrived at legitimate auction houses with falsified provenance documents. Museums around the world, including some of the most prestigious institutions in the United States and Europe, have been caught holding looted artifacts and forced to return them. The trade persists because the buyers are wealthy, the profits are enormous, and proving where an object came from is extraordinarily difficult. 6. Endangered animals and exotic pets. The illegal wildlife trade generates an estimated $23 billion per year, making it the fourth largest criminal economy in the world after drugs, human trafficking, and arms dealing. And while most people think of ivory and rhino horn, the live animal trade is in many ways even more shocking. On the dark web and through encrypted messaging networks, you can find listings for baby chimpanzees, slow lorises, pygmy marmosets, clouded leopards, rare parrots, and juvenile orangutans, all illegally captured from the wild and sold as exotic pets to wealthy buyers around the world. For every animal that reaches the buyer alive, experts estimate that between 5 and 10 die in transit, stuffed into tubes, hidden in luggage, sedated and packed in boxes. The survival rate is catastrophic. And for every animal taken from the wild, a breeding population in its natural habitat is weakened a little further. Some species have been pushed to the edge of extinction not by habitat loss, but by the pet trade alone. 7. Fake academic degrees and credentials. This one is everywhere and almost no one talks about it. There is a thriving global black market for fake university degrees, professional certifications, and academic credentials. And it goes far beyond the obvious comedy of a fictional diploma on a wall. Counterfeit medical degrees, fake pilot licenses, fabricated engineering qualifications. These documents are produced to a standard that can pass casual inspection, complete with holograms, official-looking seals, and verifiable-looking registration numbers. They are sold online for anywhere from a few hundred to several $1,000s. The consequences can be lethal. In the United Kingdom, multiple investigations have uncovered people practicing medicine with completely fraudulent qualifications. In aviation, fake pilot licenses have been documented in multiple countries. The market is enormous, the detection rate is low, and the human cost, in the cases where it goes wrong, is devastating. 8. Stolen water. In the American West, in Australia, in parts of South America and Africa, water has become so scarce and so valuable that a black market for it has emerged. In California during prolonged drought periods, water theft has become a documented criminal enterprise. Illegal tapping of municipal systems, theft from reservoirs, fraudulent water rights transactions running into the millions of dollars. In Chile, where water rights were privatized decades ago, an illegal market for water trades has emerged that leaves rural and indigenous communities without access to water they have depended on for generations. In some parts of sub-Saharan Africa, water black markets are not a future threat, they are a present reality, with cartels controlling access to boreholes and water trucks and charging prices that consume a majority of poor families' daily income. Water is the resource that no human can live without for more than 3 days. And in more places than most people realize, it has already become something you have to buy from someone who isn't supposed to be selling it. 9. Human hair. The global black market for human hair is worth an estimated $9 billion annually, and most consumers have no idea it exists. The demand is driven by the hair extension and wig industry. A massive global business that requires enormous quantities of real human hair to produce its products. Legally, much of this hair comes from temple donations in India, where Hindu pilgrims shave their heads as a religious offering and the temples sell the hair to fund charitable work. But demand has massively outpaced legal supply. Criminal networks have emerged that steal hair from temples before it can be processed, smuggle it across borders to avoid export taxes, and in some documented cases, have been linked to coercive collection from vulnerable women in Eastern Europe and parts of Asia. The hair extension you see in a beauty supply store has a supply chain that is almost entirely invisible, and parts of that supply chain are deeply, troublingly dark. 10. Meteorites. The rarest rocks on Earth are not found on Earth, they fall from space. And the black market for meteorites is a genuinely fascinating criminal world that operates at the intersection of science, wealth, and obsession. Meteorites from the Moon and Mars. Actual fragments of other worlds, blasted off by ancient impacts and eventually captured by Earth's gravity, sell for prices that rival fine art. A single gram of confirmed Martian meteorite can fetch over $1,000. A significant lunar specimen can sell for hundreds of thousands of dollars. The problem is that in many countries, meteorites that land on public or protected land are legally the property of the state. In Antarctica, where some of the world's most pristine meteorite fields exist, all specimens belong to science under international treaty. Criminal collectors and dealers have been caught smuggling meteorites out of protected areas, falsifying origin documents, and selling specimens that should have gone to research institutions to private buyers who simply want to own a piece of another world. It is one of the strangest and most niche criminal markets in existence, and it is entirely real. Closing. The black market is not just drugs and guns. It is sand and dinosaur bones and hair and meteorites and water. It is the full spectrum of human desire, the desperate, the obsessive, the greedy, and the genuinely terrifying, operating in the space between what the law allows and what people are willing to pay for. And the one thing every single item on this list has in common is this. Somewhere behind the transaction, there is almost always a human being who paid a price that never shows up in the sale price. That's the black market. It is never just about the thing being sold. Subscribe if you want more stories of black market how actually works, so comment black market.